ばんは。MK ワールドの、あの組み分けが出るので、それを見ようかなと。まあ、ハチデラもあるねんな。JJ だ。
Hello, MK Central viewers, and welcome to the
ちょっと音量上
MKWC
げよう
Pro
か。
2026 Group Draw. My name is Nick. I'm joined by Mitch today on the mic.
Hello, everyone. It's really good to be back for the World Cup this year. I'm so excited to be here, and we have a lot to cover today.
ちょっと声小さいな。
That's also Nick behind the camera, also known as T. He's the reason why this entire production is possible today. And also, we'd be remiss without thanking Newser and OneUp for making the logo and the trailer, respectively.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is important that we mention them. For those of you who have been around the community for any amount of time, you probably guessed that it was OneUp who did the trailer. He continues to do so much incredible work for us for World Cup and for individual players. Through commissions, and so it's really important to shout out these people. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, now on screen right now.
どうやって音量を変えるんだ？これか。これを5デシベルぐらいに増やしたい。5デシベルじゃ足りねえ。
A week after that, we'll get into the group stage
15?
with some stronger competition, and those teams will be competing for a spot in the bracket. And while the group stage is going on, there'll be a separate set of pools for the top 8 teams, all of which are also going to qualify for the bracket and for potentially higher seeding in that bracket.
Yeah, so again, to clarify, everyone in that top 8 that you see is automatically moving on to the group stage. They're solely playing for seeding, but it's a really great way for them to test their skills against teams of similar skill level before the bracket even begins. So a really cool addition to the tournament this year. And as you can see on the right-hand side are all of the countries and regions being represented this year. 31 teams, so close to that ideal 32 number, but this is, such a treat to see so much representation here this year.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in a minute, we'll also take a look at the bracket very quickly, just to explain what it's going to look like once we get there.
Yeah, so bracket this year is 16 teams, top 16 instead of top 8, a really cool addition. As you can see, every team on the left, those are those top 8 teams. Again, automatically being put into the bracket, but playing for that seeding. And then on the right are the teams that are coming in from the group stage. And so to qualify for a higher seed in the group stage, that is based on record and plus minus, for those who are wondering about that. And yeah, the better they are do, the better they do, the stronger, the more favorable of a match they have in that first round. And so really cool to see a top 16 bracket. I believe this is the first time we've had this in World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. So really exciting to see more teams in this stage.
まあ、グループステージ
Yeah,
で
that's a
勝
good
った
point.
ところ
And in
が
case it wasn't
この
already
16
clear,
に入るんかな。
those numbers
で、
out on the right
16
hand
チーム
side,
で
the
ト
9
ー
through
ナメント戦を
16,
して、まあラスト
those
決
are the
勝
teams that are coming from the group stage.
ってことなん
And
やないかな。
if you are seeded 9th through 12th, that
はい、こ
means
ん
you
ばん
won
は。
your group stage group, and so you'll be placed or matched up against a team that finished third or fourth in the top 8. And then 13th through 16th are the runner-ups in those groups. So, as we'll get into in a little bit, would be really beneficial if you're in the top 8 that you finished in the top half of your group. Same with finishing first in your group stage group as well.
Absolutely. And so we are going to go ahead and get started with the play-in draw. And here we have our 4 play-in
まあ
groups.
W から Z までグループがあっ
Three
て、
groups of
まあ
4
15
and
と
one group of
16
3
に
here.
一旦 A と B で分けるんかな。グループ A、
And
グループ B っていうのがあって、その中に
yeah, this you see
あ
our
るって
pots
感じ
on the
か。
right-hand side. This is how our teams were separated for this. So we're going to draw from
こんば
4
んは。
individual pots to even the groups out a little bit. So we are going to start from the top. We're starting with pot 6.
うん
And so the teams in this group, starting from the left, we have Eastern Europe, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Netherlands, and Venezuela. So that is the first pot that we are going to roll from here.
I think
And
all
some
these teams have a
interesting,
pretty good shot at advancing into the group stage. Sorry to cut you off there, but just looking at the rosters that they're bringing out and some of the results that they've gotten, I would say that these 4 teams in particular in pot 6 are the favorites to get out.
yeah, absolutely. And as we are drawing them, we'll get to talk a bit more in detail about each team, but definitely some teams, if anyone is familiar with the rosters, you wouldn't expect to be in the play-ins, but showing just how strong this tournament has shown to be so far on paper.
Yeah, we can say that about a few of the teams in here too, but it's still possible for them to not only just get out of the play-in stage, but also make a statement in the groups once they get there. Only time will tell.
今
Right,
あれやな、コ
so
メント欄の方
so
で
currently we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. So what we're going to go
なん
ahead and
か
do is talk about
やってるっぽいけど、
introduce the teams in the lower pots as
ちょ
well,
っと見れて
just
なくてわか
so
んない。見れてなくてわかんない。
have some
何
time
が
to,
どうなってるん
so,
だ
we have some time to talk about them. So in pot 7, that's the second wheel we're going to roll in a few minutes here. Teams we see here, we have Brazil, Middle East and North Africa is that second team. Then we have Peru and Puerto Rico.
I personally also expect these 4 teams to make a statement in this stage too. Some of them even have success in the group stage and even in the top 16 or top 8 side of things. So, of course, with this being a new game, they're gonna have a lot to prove, but I think they have the rosters to actually to make a statement.
Yeah, for sure. All of the teams in that pot 7, I think a really interesting thing about them is they all have standout players. And what's really going to make the difference for these teams is those, players filling in the 4th and 5th and 6th slots in each lineup, and what they can contribute alongside those top 1 or 2 players they have. And again, as we are
そ
talking,
う、
we'll
31カ
introduce them
国
more in detail
全
in a
部で出
moment.
場するみたい
Just giving a
で、
bit of an overview
そ
here.
れを今、なんか2つに分けてんのかな。
Yeah, you're right
で
about
2つに
that.
分けて、それの1個目みたいな。
Basically, every
今
team
15カ
has
国しかないん
1 or
やけ
2 or
ど、
3 standout players. But as you said,
もう1個
the
16
teams that
カ
are going to be
国。
moving on are going to have depth
まあ、フラン
across the board.
スもそうや
And they're
し、
going to be the teams that
アメリ
practice
カ、日
a
本と
lot
かも
together
そ
and
うじゃ
have a
な
lot
い
of synergy.
Yeah, absolutely.
あんまりね、まだ詳細は分かってないんだけど、このルーレットで決めるの
Alright,
かな
so
そう、
Alright,
ネザーラン
so
ド。これ
here is
は
our
ポット
first draw.
6
Again,
か
this
な。
is
ポッ
that
ト
top
6
pool.
の、
Netherlands, Hong Kong, Taiwan,
なんか
Eastern Europe,
入る
and
場所、グルー
Venezuela.
プ
And one thing I
W
do want to
か
mention
ら
is
Z
as
の
the
入
years
る場
have
所を
gone
決め
on
る的な、
with the
そんな
World
感じ
Cup,
だと思う。
our production has
首
improved.
謀者の大ラウンドコインよりも、
Our
わかんない。コメント欄監視してんじゃない
assets, our transitions, our production value, everything has improved, but the wheel
まあ
remains.
さすがにこの中やった
The wheel
ら、ネ
persists
ザー
through
ラ
all of these
ンド
years. It
か
is our
強いのは、
one of my favorite parts of the World Cup is watching the wheel. I
イース
love
タ
it.
ンヨーロッパも強い選手は結構おっ
And
た
so
は
without further
ず。
ado, let's go ahead and draw our first team.
まず、1個目、どこに入るか。ベネズエラ
Alright, first up is Team Venezuela. They've been waiting to debut on a console game for a long time, and they want to break out in a big way. So, just look at the roster. Santi Pajas is the Venezuelan superstar who plays on Rosando La Catástrofe. So, you know he's going to be a prolific player, but he's not alone because Diego 6 also brings a ton of experience from 8 Deluxe, as well as Crips, Kosiam, Arones, Fuse. They're all capable too. So, if all of those players rise to the occasion, they can genuinely cause some problems for teams in the group stage should they advance.
なのかね。いやいや、もう僕もよくわかってないんやけど。
Yeah,
All right.
really solid team for our first draw here. And yeah, absolutely. Really awesome team to start with here.
まあ
Do want to
次、
emphasize Kosium in
これ
particular.
かな。
He has
グルー
risen the
プ
ranks quite
X に
quickly
入る
as
のは
Mario Kart World since Mario Kart World released,
どこかな
specifically in
的な
Knockout
感
Tour,
じにな
probably
るの
one
か
of
な。
the best
まあ
Knockout
で
Tour
もこれ
players
多分
I've
てか
seen.
グループステー
And
ジ
I
の
think
中
a
か
lot
ら
of
上に。
strats and just general game sense and those
だか
types of
ら、
things that
まあ
translates
そ
really
こま
well
で
into
なんかもう
6v6. So
フラン
I'm
ス、アメリカ、
particularly
日本
looking
み
out,
たいな、
especially
その
for
グループに
Kosium
な
and
ん
of
な
course
けれ
Santi
ば、
and
ま
Fuse.
あ大丈夫やない。
And so
Yeah,
let's go ahead and
great
draw
point.
our second
グ
team
ループス
here.
テージで敗退する可能性も出てくるからね、そうなったら。
We have Team Eastern Europe going into our second group. So this team is the captains this year are Aqua and Grilled Duck, aka formerly Semi, I believe. And this team has a lot of players coming from a lot of different countries. This is our first regional team that we're drawing here. A lot of strong players who've played in mid-division teams.
そうだね。ポ
Zadi,
ット6の
Shag,
中から
Shadow,
W
Solly,
から Z
all
に
very
入る
capable players playing in
国を
that
攻
division
めて
3 to
いく
5 range in Atlas League. We'll be talking a lot about former Atlas
感
League
じや
results
と
for
思
some of
う。
these
で、次
players.
ポット7で
And so,
W から入るの誰ですかみたいな
coming
感
together
じでやるんじゃ
for
ないか
this
な。
regional team, a very solid, just all-around
まあ
roster
で
that
も
this team
そうなる
has.
と、グ
And
ループ Z が、
one thing I really is going to
グ
think
ループ Z
is
が
going to be
早めに
important
埋
for
ま
this
るか
team
ら。
is after those four, who do they slot in? They have players like Thunder, who's played in Division 10. His team won Division 10, in fact, in Atlas League this previous season. And Alan playing with We Elite Clan, who have been around the community for such a long time, one of the oldest teams in the community currently. And so, can those players slot into the lineup and support those top four?
うん。
Is,
If they can, they're
the
looking
ディ
thing
ビ
I'm
ジョン
looking
10
for.
とかなんか、
Yeah,
トップフォ
absolutely.
ワードとか言ってたから、ヒーとか聞こえたから、なんかな、国の紹介国にいる選手の紹介とかなんかやってんのかな。
So while
全然
we
聞いてなかっ
wait
た。
for the wheel to be spun again and get our third team going into
なん
Group
か
Y,
主催とかにも
teams
関
that are
係
left
して
being
るっ
Hong
ぽい
Kong,
ね。
Taiwan,
知らんけど。
and Team Netherlands. There's a spin right there.
Yeah,
And we
apologies
land
for a bit of a
on-
scuffed wheel spin,
日
but
本はグループステージ多分出ないんですよ。トップ8
Well, we
は
are
トー
landing
ナ
on
メント
Team
制度でシード
Netherlands.
順を決めるために
Alright.
数試合が
For
ある。
some people, this might be odd to
へえ、
see
そうなんだ。
as a play-in team because in the last tournament like this, they came in 7th. So
だか
this
ら
is a new
A の
roster,
1
but
と
there's still a
か
lot of
B の
potential here.
4とか決まってたわけ
Vantox is the most potent player. he was on that 2023 tournament team, and we know he'll give us content in one way or another.
トップ
Pack
8
was
は
also
トーナ
on
メ
that
ント
team, and
シ
he's
ード。
coming back to MK World. And they have rising
う
stars
ー
like
ん。
Breezy, who's an up-and-coming
この
player
トッ
from
プ8と
Shy
かって
Guys
どう
World
やって
Club,
決めてるんだ
Drew Waffle from Dynamite, Tricky from Starstruck, among others.
なんもわ
So
から
I
ん。
can also see them making a statement in this game too.
Absolutely. And with that, the remaining team filling in Group Z, our first team there is Hong Kong, Taiwan. This is a really interesting team, and a lot of different players from a lot of different backgrounds and experience. The captains this year, Charlie and Orange Peak. Charlie, one of the standout players for this team, playing with Team Velocity most recently, and not only having very solid online 6v6 experience so far, but also a very solid timesheet. Barrett, most recently in Atlas, playing with Dreamy Drivers, now on Velocity as well. Very solid player as well in his own right. One person I'm particularly looking for, and maybe not many people are aware of, is Alvin. Alvin peaking at top 25 on the players page referring to the time trial leaderboard for Mario Kart World, having some really, really strong times. I think his front presence is going to be a big factor for this team. And again, a player that hasn't had that much online experience, but can he show up in the front? I think that's a big question, and a player I'm really looking
そう
forward
だ
to
ね。
seeing
事
here.
前に何も言われて
And
な
then
いか
some
らね。
players, Orange Peak, he'll be going by AE87 in this tournament. TEF, some really solid players to fill in those 4th and 5th and 6th slots. So, team I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, Tef might
な
be a
何で
sleeper
決まっ
carry,
てんだろう
in my
ね。
opinion.
わから
Just
ない。
just looking at the results that he's put up so far.
なんか、リビジョン
With
が
all
ど
the
うの
players
こう
that
の
you
言って
already
たから
mentioned, I do have a lot of faith in Hong Kong, Taiwan.
な
And
んか選
especially
手
in
紹
this group
介
C,
から
which
や
we'll
っ
talk
てる
about in
の
a
を
minute,
考
only
え
has
る
3
と、普
teams.
通に
So
Yeah,
the other two
that's
teams that'll be in that group are
大会の
going to be
あ
pretty
れと
strong
か
as
かな。
well.
ようわからんね。っ
We're
て
going
な
to
る
see how
と、
that
オランダ
smaller
が
group
なん
shapes
で
up and who actually gets
こ
out
の
of it.
プレインステージにいるのかがわからない。強いはずやで、普通に。
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, really strong teams here all around. And so, this is going to take us to our next pot. So this is pot
PA
seven
と
again.
かも
This
見
is
てる。
Brazil,
なるほど。
Middle East, North Africa, Peru, and Puerto Rico.
そこまで全員分把握してるのかね。
All right, give them the wheel a spin here.
重っ。
Who's going to land in Group W along with Team
予選
Venezuela?
なしでいける感じなんやと思う。それが正しいのであれば。今、31カ国中の15カ国のグループステージ戦の組み分けを見てるんだけど。
That resulting team is Peru. So we're going to have a South American showdown in Group W. That's going to be a quality match. Splendy, Francis, and Juan P is one of the best trios that you're going to see at this
まあ、
stage.
それだったらまあ、韓
Splendy in
国とか
particular
もいないの
is one
も
of the best
納
players
得だ
in
よ
the
ね。
Americas, I think. Also, a player on Rosando La Catástrofe. So is Francis, by the way. He's also in that franchise. And Juan P has been a high quality player in both 8 Deluxe and in World. All right, so as
まあ
long as
ね、
this
予
team
選あって
clicks,
も
that
も
is
う
going
盛
to
り
be a
上がるとは
fantastic
思うん
matchup,
だ
and
け
I
ど、
think both of them have a shot in groups.
なんかもう2週間後から始まるもんやと勝手に思ってたから、
Absolutely, really
予
looking
選
forward
と
to
か
that
グルー
matchup.
プ戦
Again,
ないのを知
apologies
ってちょ
for
っと
the
寂しいな。
a bit of the lag you're seeing with the wheel, but we'll see if we can get that sorted out. But next spin coming in here, joining Group X, going to be MENA. This is Middle East and North
何目なっ
Africa.
て。
Another regional team with representation from lots of different countries. The captains this year, Giorgio, Manny, and Zuzu.
ミー
Zuzu,
ナ、
out
ミー
of
ナ
this
はミ
roster,
ドル
being the
イー
most
スト
experienced
ノー
by
スアフリ
far,
カ。
playing Wii at a high level, 8
だから中
Deluxe
東
towards
及
the
び
end
北ア
of
フリ
its
カ。
lifespan, and of course, World as well. Very strong, capable player.
サウジアラビア
Another
とかカタール
player,
とか。
Lika,
イラン、イ
being
ラク。
most recent, not on a team currently, but most
昔
recently on
いたな、イ
Ronron's
スラエ
table,
ル
playing at
に
a
プ
solid
レイ
level
ヤ
with
ー覚え
that
てる
team.
わ。
Giorgio being a salty speedway specialist, but showing solid online potential as well, playing with Leaf's second team, another strong Spanish team. And then another
そういう
player
こ
that
と
I
ね。
want to mention because of their TTs,
ルクセンブルクと
Spoke,
対
who has
戦
a
して
very solid
180ポイントチャレ
timesheet.
ンジ。 いつぞ
And
やのペ
I
ージ
think
さんやね。
another player whose front presence is going to benefit this roster a lot and going to benefit this team. And so they're going to slot in against Eastern Europe. That's going to be quite a great matchup. We'll talk more about specific matchups at the
は
end,
え
but yeah, this is one
いいな。
that's going to be interesting to
そうな
talk
ん
about
だ。
later.
マジでこういう
Yeah, I agree.
の知らないからさ。
All right, final two teams from Pot 7 going into Group Y and Group C. Brazil and Puerto Rico.
重くて表示されてないだけか、これ。
Who is going to join Team Netherlands?
重たいっす。
Team Puerto Rico will be joining them. This team practices the most of any play-in team from what I've seen, so they already have a good amount of chemistry. They're featuring established players like Steez, who is the captain from Team Resilience, and Sparky, who's someone I've been competing with since 2016, and also Peelin, who's an experienced player from Kart Vengers. But perhaps their biggest bright spots
そ
are
う、
the
チームの
rookies,
選手紹
like
介とかなんか、
Casual,
す
who
ごい
hasn't played
ね。
66 a whole lot, but he's
この
maintained
チーム
Roomy and Lounge
の
last
この
season,
選手
as well
は
as Light
どう
Roomy
い
is
う
pretty good
関
too.
係でみたいな。
So Netherlands
す
and
ごい
Puerto Rico will
話
be
す
a
な
fun
って思う。
matchup that we'll get into later.
Yeah, absolutely. And slotting into that final
ディ
slot
ビ
in
ジョ
group
ン
or second
と
slot
か
in Group Z,
でちゃんと
excuse me,
全部
is
把
Team
握してる
Brazil,
のすごいね。
captained by KTPG this year, and the dynamic trio that we've seen for many years on 8 Deluxe World Cup,
グループ
dating all the
Y
way
が
back
今
to
どん
that
な
game.
感じになるかってい
KTPG,
うのはちょっ
Laura,
と気に
and
なってはい
Rays
る。
continuing
グルー
to
プ Y。
show up for Brazil in the World Cup.
日本っ
Very
てもう
exciting
決
to
ま
see
り
them
ました
back.
か？日本はわ
But
かん
a
ない。
player who
ないかもしれな
you
い。
know, may even top all three of them in individual skill.
ごめん、ちょっとね、
Edu,
見てないん
coming
だ。
onto the scene this
詳しい
year
ことを知らず
with the
に
release
始
of
めてし
World
ま
and
った
a
から。
really strong player. Being at the top of a lot of their scrim results that we've seen, and so can, you know, with him as well as the three that I mentioned
ああ。
earlier, I think this team is
デ
going
ィ
to
ス
be
カッシ
quite
ョンで言われ
strong.
ては、Don't
And
really like
looking
the
forward
form.
to
I think
seeing
it's
them
a
up
bit
against
sad
Hong
that
Kong,
top 8
Taiwan.
team isn't
Again, a
playing
team that
any
is going
of
to
the
excel in
other
the front,
teams
as we mentioned
beside
earlier.
the top 8 and bracket.
Yeah, definitely.
だか
All
ら、
right.
トップ8
Now moving
の
on
チー
to
ム
Pot
は、
8,
こう
we
いうのには参
have
加しないらしい。
the teams
だから日本、
just
アメ
below
リカ、
them:
フラン
Austria,
ス、
Central
韓
America,
国、
Ecuador,
まあ、その他も
Colombia,
ろもろ、オーストラリアと
and
か
Team、Switzerland.
わかんないけど、
First, we're going to start in Pot W, just like
イ
before,
タリアとか、
and see which team is
ここ
going
ら
to be
辺
drawn in
は
with Venezuela
出ないん
and
じゃない
Peru.
かな。どういう風に決まってるかっていうのもさ、ちょっと調べないとわかんなそうなんだよね。
All right. It's going to be Ecuador, Colombia. Ecuador, as they call it.
コロン
This
ビ
is a
ア。
wild card for me. They could be mid. They could also be the underdog that breaks into groups. The thing is, while Julian was one of the top players in 8 Deluxe, and he's also good in this game too, he hasn't played 66 in a while. But luckily, Espen might be just as good. And he plays for Pixel Racers, and as the team captain, I expect him to be an in-game leader too. Behind those two, players like Noel, Mimosa, Pedro Seve, Alicia, they're all solid war players as well. So, is this a sleeper team? Perhaps. It's another South American showdown happening in Group W, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, I just noticed that too. That's really cool to see.
Of the players that I was listing at the end, I do want to shout out Alicia because he has been playing 8 Deluxe for several years. So he might still be
リアーソンだ。
he's still picking up MK World from what I can see. But once he does get going, he has the know-how to make an impact for this team. And Mimosa as well
昔、
is
コロン
another
ビア
player
で
in
ティア
the
A と
RK
か
franchise, if you
B
will.
とか
They've improved a ton as well.
AB、たまに S もいたん
Nova's
か
played
な。
on teams
で猛威を
such
振るってたプ
as
レイヤーが
Elysium and a few
い
others
た
as
んだよ
well.
な、
Pedro
コロン
Sepe
ビアに。
is a member on Starstruck. So the 66 experience is there for this team. Heading over to our next wheel spin.
JPN もシー
And
ド
once again,
順を決める
apologies
た
for
め
the
の予選
lag
リン
on
ク
the
があるっ
wheel.
ぽ
I
いね。そ
promise
こ
you, it is
で、あれだ
spinning,
ね。
and
そ
it
こ
is spinning
で、
quite fast.
組み分
And
けが
we
決まる
are
んだね。
so excited
配
to see
信の
it,
最初の方に載ってるんやけど、
even if it doesn't want to show it to
なん
us
か
right now.
A1 と
But our next
16
team
が
going into
対
Group
戦し
X
て、その
is
次に
Central
B4
America,
と9が当た
yet
って
another
勝ったと
regional
ころとやっ
team,
て、みたいな。
combining, I believe,
だか
5 different
ら、
countries here. We have El Salvador, we have Costa Rica,
初陣は
Guatemala,
まあ、だいぶ
Honduras,
先
and
にな
Panama,
るんじゃないか
representing
な。
5 different countries
多
here
分
this
こっか
year.
ら3週間先、
Captains
4週
Huera,
間
Ezelex,
はいかんと
and
思うけど。
and a big factor for this team is a lot of these players play together in a lot of different main teams. So we have a lot of representation from teams like Pixel Racers, with Huera being one of the players there. Players from Chico's, like Anemoy and Furcho, Arcanum representation with players like Clawx and Sanch, who are players who have been around for a long time as well, with a lot of experience. So one big advantage for this team is the chemistry that they've built up, not only through scrims for this particular tournament, but scrims with their teammates in their main teams. So a lot of teams coming together to represent their country here. I think it's going to be really cool to see. And yeah, I think that chemistry is going to take them far.
It's pretty hilarious how all the teams in Group X are regional teams. But as you mentioned, Central America might be the team that has the most chemistry in this group. So
yeah, I could see it. Absolutely. Do want to point out again, not only the chemistry, but some prior experience. Sanch, going by formerly Sanch, going by Flair now, he has played at a top level, particularly in Tour. We saw him being a star player for Team Costa Rica back in the day on Mario Kart Tour, and playing a decent amount of World as well, with Arcanum. Clawx as well, similar boat, playing not Tour, but 8 Deluxe. A lot of experience from that game.
7月24から、まあそっから1週間ちょいか。
You know, not
やるっ
only
ぽいね。8日間かな。9日間かな。
with the experience from the prior games, but experience playing together, because again, Team Costa Rica had a quite solid showing, particularly in 2021. I'm remembering that tiebreaker match that they played against Brazil to, guarantee that spot in the group. I believe it was South Korea that had to drop out, and that was a matchup that occurred between that team that year. That was one of the most insane matches I've ever seen, and a lot of these players were in that match, not only on Central America, but on Brazil. So it's just so interesting to see these teams coming back, or these players coming back, excuse me.
And they're probably happy they're not in the same group as Brazil and don't need to relive that.
Yes, that is a great point as well. No more potential rematch that's not going to come to fruition.
Yeah, not that rematch in particular, but still, as you said, Costa Rica has played in the World Cup in previous years. So has Guatemala, actually. They were also a squad in the 2021 tournament, and I believe they got a win. And if I'm not mistaken, players like Dark and Cereza were on that team. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I remember that year. In 2021, it seems, it is long ago now. It definitely seems like it. But a lot of these teams, or a lot of these countries were their own team that year. That was probably the biggest year we've seen, hoping to rival that this year with the 2026 World Cup.
結
But
局どうなるんですか我々。
really fun
今調
to
べてるけ
look
ど、
back
情
at
報
some
が
of
何も
the
載ってな
awesome
く
moments
て、
that we've
サー
had
バーの
and
方で。
anticipate the amazing moments we're going
な
to
んか
have
書いてあるんかね。
especially with it being the first
17から
iteration
19も
of
多
the
分
World
シー
Cup
ド
on
決め
this
の
game.
試合はある。
We got surprisingly close to that number.
そう書い
Yeah,
てない
Should
よ。
be
い
just
や
mentioned.
書
This
い
is
てあるわ。
31 teams here.
17から19
Four
グループ
groups
ス
in
テ
the
ージ
playing
&プ
stage. We'll have 4 groups in the group
リリミ
stage
ナ
and a top
リー
8
ブラ
that's
ケッ
separate from all of
ト
them.
ステージっ
So
て書いてある。
it's pretty close to that historic 2021. Now we're getting ready to spin our final 2 teams to see who goes into Group Y. It's gonna be Team Austria by the looks of it. Yes, it is. Now, over the past year, we've seen some Austrians come and go, but there are still some Chads who are in it from the long haul. Namely, players like Tarek,
MKWC の
who is
さ、
a
サ
Sapphire
ーバー
level
には
player
書い
and
てなか
also
っ
on
たから、
Team
ちょっ
Brilliant.
と MK セントラルの
Zaka,
方のサ
who
イト
plays
でちょ
on
っと
Team
調べ
Inferno,
てみるか。
Derny, who's one of the backbones from Team Baffy, and Dave is coming back to the game as well, and he has a lot of experience from a Deluxe too. They'd probably like to see players like Nira and Cedrinia on the racetrack too, because they were really good when the game came out. They're on the roster now for what it's worth, but they want to see performances from everyone if they want to advance from this group.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, Group Z, the final team slotting into Group Z is going to be Switzerland. This year, led by Audi and Mudkey. Audi, a very long time community member, playing 8 Deluxe with Team Switzerland in the past for many years. A lot of experience playing in this tournament in particular. And Mudkey, who on the game's release had a really, really strong showing and became a top player quite quickly. And
マッ
I
キー
believe he had a bit of a
聞いたこ
hiatus
とない
towards the
な。
beginning of 2026, but coming back for this tournament, I think if he de-rusts, he's going to be such a strong asset for this team in the front. And a lot of players speaking of players with that prior 8 Deluxe experience, we have players like Happer and Milo and Zoo who are returning for this game. And most of those players had a strong showing at the start of the game, but similar to Mudkey, had a bit of a hiatus. And so a lot of returning players for this tournament. Really cool to see. But we're going to see how they shape up against teams like Hong Kong and Brazil, who, for most of them, have been playing for the entirety of the game's lifespan so far.
Yeah, and I do want to mention, now that we've drawn from the first 3 pots, that actually does conclude Group Z. And so I should point out that that's still going to be a single round robin. And barring any rock, paper, scissors interactions between those 3 teams, getting just 1 win will be enough. And
Yeah,
as Mitch was pointing out, this is going to be a really close group. So, like, getting that 1 win is still not going to be easy. Like, even Switzerland has the
MK セン
know-how
ト
to
ラ
get
ル
it
の
done.
サーバーが
Same
開
with
けないん
Brazil
です
with
けれ
all
ど
their
も、
synergy and Hong Kong, Taiwan
な
with
ぜですか？
all their potential. So that'll be an interesting group to watch, even though it's only 3 teams.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Now we're moving on to our final pot, our final 3 teams to fill out the rest of the playing stage. Those
Yes,
3
this
teams
is
being Portugal, Luxembourg, and the Dominican Republic. All right, that first team is the Dominican Republic. Welcome to your first ever WC tournament. Good luck against Venezuela, Peru, and Ecuador. So while much of the team
で
is
も
here
10
to
秒
the
くらいに
competitive
なる
scene,
可能性
they
もあ
are
る
led by
よ。
some 8 Deluxe veterans such as Mario, who's a
まあ多
really
分
good player for
みんな
Kojima,
平等に紹介するん
Yuri,
やった
who's a
ら
veteran
ま
from Space Dementia, along with Dan actually. And they're
あ
boosted
多分
by
紹介す
strong
るとし
players
ても
like
草さんの
Hector
ことじゃない。
and
草さん
Majari, who
は
plays
な
on
んかちょっと
unbelievably bailed.
Wii の
They're
頃
going
か
to
ら
need
です
those
ね。
vets to show up big if they're going to have success in this group.
Yeah, absolutely. Really looking to, especially Morio, for that
結
for that
局、
experience and that leadership.
よく分かってないん。
And so our
結局
final
よく分か
spin
ってな
for
い。
the
我々
play-in
はどうしたらいいわ
stage.
け？
Our team that's going to slot into Group X here. And that is Portugal. Portugal, while having representation in the World Cup before, as far as I know, they have not played as their own team in any prior World Cup. So this is their first time. Really cool to see. Captains this year, Delta, Laura, and Vey. Delta playing with, again, in that RK franchise and RK's third team, RK Lobos. Very strong experience there. Laura playing with Champy Brothers, also being a standout, their standout individual player, having peaked, I believe, Sapphire and Lounge. And then Vey as well, most recently playing with Team Resilience, a Division 3 team. Other notable mention, Koshi playing with Cool Kids. That's a team in the division, 6, 7, 8 range, and shown to be quite a capable player there. The big question mark for this team is how will their newer players show up? Outside of those four, all of their players are brand new to the scene, brand new to competitive card. And so how will these players slot into the lineup and compete against teams that, like Central America and Middle East, North Africa, that have more of a solid core 6? That's what I'm looking to see for them. But we'll see how they do. But really exciting to see them play for the first time.
Looking forward to that too. And lastly, in Group Y, Team Luxembourg is going to be rounding out that group. Their last tournament of this kind, Luxembourg played in, they got 2 wins and made it to the group stage. And when they have troopers like Spiel, Ome, and Yasin leading the way, who's to say they can't do it again? It does help that a number of them, including Ome, Yasin, Sharel, and Liam, play on Team Tempest together. It helps that a number of them play in Atlas League as Team Luxembourg. It also helps that they have a jack-of-all-trades player like Spiel. But I think he'll be called on to be the runner if they're going to make it out of this group.
Yeah, for sure. A lot resting on those top players in that.
日本のチームとかセントラルであまり登録されて
again,
な
a
いだ
team
ろう
that's
か
been
ら、
around
代表の
for
所属
so
と
long, not only in the
チーム
World
と
Cup, but
か、
in
そうだね。
our main tournament series,
ああ、なん
playing
か、
with a lot of chemistry
日
there. So
本の
really looking forward to
さ、
seeing them again this year.
主流な大会っ
Yes,
て
sir.
And with
MKE
that,
とセント
concludes
ラ
our
ルサミ
play-in
ットなわ
stage.
けやん。
This is the final
セン
draw,
トラルで大会登
and
録
we
して
will
る
have a bit of a
人っ
recap of
て、
that
まあ、土曜の深夜
at the end of
3
the
時
at
か
the
ら
end of
め
all of
ち
our
ゃく
draws.
ちゃ暇
But
な人だけ
taking a
が
moment
登
looking at
録し
some of
て
these.
出るみたいな感じだと思うし、海
Yeah,
外の
really
やって
exciting. And again, we'll talk
る
more about specific matches at the end, but this is your final
MK
play-in
ワー
draw.
ルドのチーム
Yep.
トー
And
ナメントっ
again,
てい
the
うサー
top 2
バーがある
teams
んで
from
ね、
this
そう、
from
66
each
やっ
group
て
in
ま
this
すよみた
stage
いな。
will advance to the group
そう、
stage
日本チー
and
ムも
hopefully
何
be
個か
fighting for
登
a
録は
spot
してあったんだけ
in the
ど、
top
ディビジョン
16
2とか
bracket.
1はいなかった気がする。
Alright,
2
similar
なんや
thing
ない
here.
かな。
4
それこ
groups
そラウン
here.
ジ帯
We're
で
going
言
to
う
be
とゴール
seeding
ドとかプ
8
ラチナ
teams
帯
into
の
these
とこ
groups. 4 from pot 4 and 4 from pot
だっ
5.
た覚えがあ
And
る。
the top
でも
2
そ
from
の
each
記
group
憶
will
も
advance to the
1
bracket here.
年、半年
Alright.
以上前だからさ、
So in pot
実
4,
際どうなのか今もわかんないんだけど。
we'll be featuring Team Asia, Team Belgium, Team Ireland, and Team Korea. We're going to spin to see who goes
お、
into Group 1 first.
始まった。
It is
Yeah, once
indeed
again, the wheel
spinning.
is spinning, I promise you.
ラッグ。いや、もうわかんないわかんない。ベルギーですか？どこですか？あ、サウスコリアらしい。
And the team slotting into our first group, South Korea. Very exciting team. Having seen them a
なん
few
か出て
times
きた
in
ぞ。
previous World Cups. Captained this year by
なんか
Dive,
出
who
てき
has
た
been
な。
around the community for quite a long time. Currently on Groppler, a Division 1 team. And with a lot of strong individual players who have shown
ドリー
promise
ムマ
in
ッチ
lounge
2020ドラ
uh,
フト配信。
and in scrimmages as well,
懐
players like
かしい。
Afrogut and Comet and Tears. Fun fact for those who don't know, Tears, formerly
ア
Jungwoo,
ニメさん良
held
か
a
っ
world
たん
record
だよ
on Mario Kart Wii
な。
with the
い
Wii
なく
wheel
なっちゃっ
on
たけ
Koopa
ど。
Kate back in the
い
day.
やいな
So
くな
it
っ
is
ては
the
いない
same
んだけど
player
さ。
and has been
今はも
grinding
う伝
this
蔵さ
game.
んに
One of
任せっ
the
きりなわけじゃないですか。
players with the most events played in lounge, if not
そ
the
う、
most
ま
events
あ
played
で
in
も、
lounge in prior seasons.
な
And
んていう
so
の
that experience is
す
going
ご
to
い、
take them far here.
プレイヤー側の
And
意見
particularly
をか
Comet,
なり取り入
who
れてくれ
not
てる
quite
感じ
on the
はし
level of
たから。
Tears and Lounge, but has been at the top of pretty much all of their scrim results in individual points. And so
主
that
催者が変わっても、
this
居心
combination
地
of
が
different
すごい
experiences is going to
変わんな
uh,
いってい
take
う
this
か、
team far.
む
And
しろ
it's
改
really
善さ
cool to
れて
see
って
this
るのっ
team
て
as
すごいいいことだよ
with
ね。
the time zone difference, we don't commonly
伝
get to
蔵
see
さ
these
んの能
players
力が
play in
高
our
いのもあ
tournament.
る
So really
し、
excited to see them
ニ
this
ム
year.
さんがその後輩を育てる
So
能力
talented
ってい
that
う
they
のに
still
も
managed
長
to
け
get
て
it
そ
done
うだし、
anyway.
まあ
Yeah,
主催者
so
みんなが
drawing our first
な
top
ん
4
か
team into Group
会議
2,
とか定期的に行ってるっていうのも聞いたから、
giving the wheel another
ここら辺ちゃんとしてる
slow
人
and
間
choppy,
が主
but
催してくれてるのはありが
a
たいこ
spin
とよな。
nonetheless.
懐かしい、ニムさん。伝蔵いつもありがとう。ベル
This
ギー
looks like
強
it's
いけ
going to
ど
be
ね。
Belgium. Belgium has historically brought good teams to the World Cup, and this squad is no different. Kuru and
ベルギ
Chiaki
ーが
have
トッ
been
プ
pillars on
8
their
じゃないこと
respective
あるの？
teams,
まして
being
や、韓
Leaf
国がトッ
and
プ8じゃないこ
Luchasaurus.
とってあるの？
And if we talked about Thomas's
どっか
career
他に強いとかあ
accolades,
る？
we'd be here for an hour. He's been around for so long. Not to mention, Keenum could be just as good as those top 3 if he's
いや、で
on.
も、
Gilek is
そう
a
だよね。
cold soldier, and Ice Coco's improvement arc has been insane.
この中で
This
ポッ
begs the
ト
question:
4にいる
will
や
this
つ
be the
がグ
first
ループ
ever
3、4
Belgian
で入っ
squad to reach
て、
top 8?
Yeah,
で、ポ
potential
ット
definitely
5
there,
が1、2、
and
3、4って入
really
っ
looking forward to seeing
て、
this team as well.
ポット1、2、3が入るってこと？
All right, our last
じゃ
spin
あ
for this
3、
pot
2、
between
どうい
Asia
うこ
and
と？
Ireland.
ちょっと待てよ。
Let's see who we
今、
get.
15カ国プラス8カ国やから、残り8カ国、この中にない8カ国が上8ってことで、そこでどこに入るか選ぶってことか、試合して。そういうこと
And
だよ
it
ね。
lands on Team Ireland, so they are going to slot into our group 3 here. Ireland showing a lot of promise and a lot of activity on Mario Kart World. Their captains Lucer, Owen, and Mystery. Lucer, currently playing with Dynamite, had a very strong showing, especially in the later stages of 8 Deluxe, and now showing lots of promise on World as well, playing with Team Dynamite. Owen being one of the top players on Solar Storm, another middle division team around the D4 level, having a really strong improvement arc in 2026. And Mystery as well, same team, Solar Storm, and even more recently in the past even month, having a really strong
なんかチーム
improvement.
アジアって。
Also worth noting players like Keelian playing with Shy Guys, D-Man playing at the top level most recently in, I believe it was Fries, and then Sketch, who is a really, long-time player, filling out this squad as well. So I think this team, out of the teams in this pot, has probably the most depth, and I think that's going to carry them far. A lot of different potential options, even with players like Menace or Mist, who could, fill in that 6th slot in the roster.
Yeah, I think this might be the best team outside of the top 8, just based on their depth and their previous practice
日
results.
本、フランス、アメリカ、イ
Another
ングランド、
team
カナダ、
that could be right up there with Team Ireland
スペイン、ドイ
is
ツ、イタリア。
Asia.
ああ。
For
そこの
clarification,
国をなんか
Asia
列
is
挙される
encompassing
と、
all the Asian
ああ、
nations
確か
except
にみた
for
いな感じになる
Japan,
な。
Korea, and Hong Kong, Taiwan.
あまあ
This roster
確
is
かに。
really good on paper. It's got 2 Cook members in the form of Etane and Haruka.
何
It's
を
got
どう
Emil
決め
P
てるん
from
だその
Buzz,
トップ8
Hashi
カ国
also from
って。
Solar Storm, along with Owen and Mystery. and a few others who can hold it down, including T behind the camera. They're also a close-knit group, and I know they've been emphasizing their teamwork in recent days. So if they really do function as a unit, they're dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. This team very top heavy when it comes to their individual play, their driving, communication going to be a big test for this team. But like you said, has been improving over the past few weeks. They've streamed a lot of their scrims as well, so very fun to see their improvement over the past few weeks. And with that takes us to our next pot. This is our seeds, I believe 13 through 16, excuse me. And this is going to be Australia, Colombia, Chile, and Mexico. So here we go, going up against South Korea in our first group.
First matchup in the group stage. What are we looking at? We're looking at Team
メキシコと
Mexico.
いえばチビだよ
Yeah,
な。
so
チビっていうハチデラの
yes, so
選手がおっ
this
た
is
よな。
I believe I was just told a match happening in
ダイヤとか踏
the
んで、
FIFA World
マス
Cup
タ
as well.
ー踏んでたっ
This
け
team
忘
this
れた
year
けど。
captained by Yvonne and
めちゃくちゃ
Kevo.
強かったし、一緒にやった
And
記憶もあるな。
Kevo, a player, very long time player. I think his
Kevo?
results speak for himself. One of the top players on RK1 currently, and extensive
多
history
分
on
主
8
観っ
Deluxe,
ぽ
being
い
one
よ
of the
ね、
best
なん
players,
か。
especially in the Western scene. But this year,
何も基準書かれてない
besides
から
Kevo, a lot
さ。
of newer players up and coming on Mario Kart World. Players like
別
Keemstar
に
playing with
なんかも
Pixel
う
Racers,
適
one
当
of their
にペッ
top
て
players.
やればいいんじゃないのこんな感じ
Players
で。
like Fade playing with
この
RK3.
中にペッて。
Cynical joining from Cook, and also players like Lewis MX and Uriel. All players who have some of them have prior experience, but a lot of them having their big come up in Mario Kart World in the past year. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they can support Kevo in the front and potentially have their own front presence as well.
Those mid-division players all know how to get it done, so do not sleep on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Who's going to join Belgium in Group 2? Between Australia, Colombia, and Chile. They're going to be joined by Australia. Australia might have the most potential energy of any team that we've drawn. We have to talk about Borger first and foremost because for a while he was the top player in Lounge last season. He was Grandmaster rank, #1. In addition, Starcast, Byron, and Optic were up there in Sapphire too.
オプティ
Now,
ック
whether or not they
と
see
ボー
that
ジャー
breakthrough will
が
depend on whether
共存
Optic
する
and
世
Byron
界
play
線があるの
consistently,
か、この
and
グル
whether
ー
their
プ
old timers like
次は
Batters, who I think is the
オ
captain,
プティック
can
と
help them
ボ
be
ー
a
ジャー。
cohesive unit.
ボージャーっていうランジ名がアイアンスパイダーってい
Yeah,
う人がい
absolutely. I
て、そ
think
の
a
人は
big
24P 今
question
シーズ
mark
ンはマスタ
for
ー、
this team
12P
is
はグラマス踏んでる。
is
全プレイヤー
Optic.
の中では
Optic
突
currently
出して
holding the
る
title as
プレ
the
イヤーだね。
number
本当
one
に。
time trialer, being at the top of the players page and has been for
前
several
シー
months
ズン
now.
はグラマスやったか
With
な。
some online
12P
experience
圧
playing
倒
some
的な
lounge and a
数
few
値でグ
scrimmages
ラ
with
マス叩
Australia
き出
so
して、
far and
そ
has
のま
shown
ま
promise,
12P
but
引っ越し
this
て
is
き
really
て、
a
そ
big
れで
test
も
for
ダイヤとか
her
踏んどったから、
entering the online scene, her first big
前
tournament.
シーズ
And
ンっていうか
so
まあ、
this is,
シーズン
I think
2?
Australia, if they can, should really lean into that just pure driving ability that she has.
Right, and with that, we're going to spin our last two teams going into Group 3 and Group 4 respectively.
まあね、そうね、仕方ないかもしれないけど、ルーレットのエンジンはマリオカートのルールのを再現してる。なるほど。遠回しに任天堂へ。 確かにこれはラグいな。
Let's see, go in here.
いや、これはさすがに見てらんないね。このラグのひどさは。
If my judgment is right, that's gonna land on Caledombria.
And
カリドンブリ
yeah,
ア。
Caledombria, and what a rivalry that we are about to witness. This is going to be Ireland versus Caledombria. Caledombria being the combination of Wales and Scotland. And so this team, captained by Nat, Pigeon, and Top Hat Bear this year. Nat having lots of experience from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and showing
知
up
らない
strong in
よ。
this game as well. Currently playing with Arcadia 2.
僕
Pigeon,
が
I
知らないだけ
believe, as
か。
far as I know, a new upcoming player, currently playing with Resilience.
うん。
And Top Hat Bear also drawing from experience with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and especially in recent months has had a really strong improvement and is probably up there as one of this team's best players. Also worth noting, Harrison being having peak Sapphire and Lounge last season. One of this team's strongest individual players, currently playing with Team Brilliant. And then newer players as well, like Mince and Willow, who round out this roster, have shown a lot of promise in middle division teams like Days and Velocity. So, a really strong core.
いや、わからんっす。プレイ
Going to be one of
ヤ
the highlights of this
ー、
group
マジ
stage
有
for
名
sure.
どころしかわかんな
Winner
いか
gets
ら、
the Irish
本
Sea,
当に
and
知
you
らな
already
かっ
know
た。
that they're gonna be barking to each other
テ
in
デ
that
ラの
Solar Storm
話されて
server.
も、いやいや、
I'm
わ
looking
から
forward
ん
to
ってって
that
な
For,
るしな。
for sure. For sure.
Yeah, and the last team that we're gonna draw in the group draw is Chile, and they're gonna be matching up with Team Asia. Remember, in their last tournament of this kind, Chile had that historic upset over Germany for their first ever top 8 appearance before bowing out to France. Is that magic still there? I'll tell you who is still there. Milotic, who's a world-class player from Rose Trophy. Also still there, Marlon and Engel, who were tournament team. Giyo's back, and their biggest rising stars, Rompe and Naldo, are right up there with Milotic when they're on their game. I know some of them were dealing with a bit of burnout, but when they are in form, I could see them even topping this group.
Yeah,
なるほ
absolutely. The
ど。
potential is truly there. A lot of these players, grinding and lounge and with their main teams as well. So really strong matchup here as well in Group 4. And with that, we are going to head over to our top 8 draw.
ちょっと言っとろう。
So again, to reiterate, the teams we are drawing here, they are automatically going to the bracket
Yeah.
stage no matter what. The matches in this group are purely
やるんかい。
playing for the best seeding possible. And so this is
いやー、
again
怖いね。
just a chance for these teams to play against teams at their level and also have it potentially steer the course of their bracket run.
まあ、
Yeah,
ポッ
absolutely.
ト1か
And in
ら
particular,
順番に実力順
even
み
though
たいな
all these
感じ
teams
か。
make it, it would behoove you
まあ、
if
普
you
通
finish in the
に
top half of
今
these
の
groups.
我々 JPL っ
Because if you
て
finish in fourth, you're gonna get
FR
matched up
に
with
対して
someone
勝率
who not just
20% 切っ
won
て
their
るの
group
や
stage
ばい
group,
けど
but
ね。
dominated in it.
普通にやばい。
From that 2023 tournament, the only times we had an 8 versus 9 or 7 versus 10 matchup,
怖いわ。
the lower seed
USA
won
と
both times.
FR やっぱ
Do
強い
not
な
put
とは
yourself
思
in
っ
that
とったけ
position.
ど、にしてもやっぱり FR がな、怖い
Yeah,
んよな。
absolutely. And without further ado, again, starting from the top here, we are going to
そう、エゴくな
draw
い
from our
んだよ。
first pot.
グラマス
France and
何
Japan.
枚も積んでるくせに、ポットワンに入れないの。
France and Japan, probably the favorites to appear at least in the finals and probably win the entire thing. And if
ま
I'm
あ
seeing
ね、
that
ここの
correctly,
2チーム
it
が
is
残って
landing
決勝に
on
なるのがま
Team
あ、割
France.
と目に見え
You
てい
need to
ると
go
いう
back
か、そんな感じはし
9
ますよね。
years to find an 8 Deluxe World Cup where
う
France
ん。
wasn't in the final.
8デラックス
And
もこ
the
の
potential
2
lineup
カ
they
国
could be
で
bringing
や
out
りま
this
した
year
ね。
is perhaps the scariest thing I've ever seen.
おはよう
It
ご
could
ざいま
potentially
す。配
be
信に
Pop
感
Off,
謝。
Always, Lol MDR,
感謝
Starlo,
されちゃった。
Ostras,
嬉し
and
い。
potentially rounding out with Saru. When you're looking at
こん
a
な時
team
間
with
に配信さ
5
れる、
Grandmasters,
してるだけで
it's
感謝
hard to
され
not
る
pick
こ
them
とっ
as the
てあるん
favorites,
や。
especially looking at their
嬉し
66
い。
prowess. Like Ostras and Always having played on Ron's, Starlo, Pop Off, and Saru having come up with Bree in 8 Deluxe, and
ポポフと
OMVR
か
played
ね、
with a
スター
bunch
オ
of
ロと
teams
か
as
ね。
well. So with those kind of accolades for those players and those teams, it feels like not taking it home is a disappointment.
Yeah, absolutely. A team with a reputation that precedes itself for sure. And speaking of a team whose reputation precedes itself as well, Team Japan. And a team a few months ago, many players were wondering, how will this team fare in a 12-player format? This entire tournament is a 12-player format, by the way, 6v6. And so most of the Japanese community favored the 24-player format and still does.
日本人の
And
銃撃
so
批
a
判に
big
対しての
unknown for them, just how good they could be. But through their scrimmages, through their selection matches, I can assure you this team is not only capable of winning the whole thing, but they are motivated. They are ready to go. And so being led this year by none other than Kusan, a player whose reputation I believe doesn't even need to be spoken on, but the face of Japanese Mario Kart.
うん。さあは
And
日本の顔
starting
だ
a
と。
team basically from scratch, but selecting some players who had prior 8 Deluxe experience like Purple and Riaz, aka Ryoma, and picking a lot of new players to
Ryoma.
Mario Kart World who have
Ryoma
shown
来た。
insane potential, like Dion B, for example. One of the most insane players
リア
I've
ズじゃ
ever
なくて
watched.
リョーマなんや
And
な。
so their selection process I believe they had over 20 trialers and selected 4 of them through their selection. Those 4 being Moa, Moose, Nerone, and Bakuten, and all of them showing particularly strong experience in 6v6. And that's exactly what this team was looking for. And just the depth runs so deep. Any lineup that they could play, I think, can succeed. And with Kusan and Purple leading the charge, this is going to be another really exciting Team Japan this year.
悲しい。
The whole goal for Team Japan is to silence the doubters with this one. So now we're gonna see who from Pot 2, Canada, England, Spain, and the United States, are going to join France and Japan. Each group is gonna have 2 of those teams from Pot 2,
そう。
and there's gonna be some really good competition there.
選抜点ちゃんとね、把握してるね。すごいわ。全部見てるんだ。
Oh yeah, just for clarification, we'll be drawing one team into Group A, one team into Group B, and then going back into Group A and rounding up with Group B. So
yeah,
who's going to be that first team in Group A with
Good
France?
Yeah, good call to clarify that as well.
Spain. Alrighty. If there's a dark horse team in this tournament, you might need to consider Spain to
一
be
番面
that.
白いのは、
Given all the
リア
talent
ズ
they
じゃなく
have
て
and all the
MK 龍
chemistry
ま
they
で呼
have
ばれてるこ
across
とだよな。
Division 1 teams like RK and Jet Joker. Cat X and Danny Pro have been at this
今
level for
配
nearly a
信の
decade,
ハイラ
while
イト。
players like Alik and Hanjo literally bursted
こ
onto
ん
the
ばん
scene
は。
last
はい、こ
year.
んばんは。
And if I'm not mistaken, Alik reached Diamond too. But their top lineup might be
トッ
something
プ
like
組み分けから投げなく。
Caesar,
確かに。
Booty, Aliformula, Claycy, Axial, and Alik, all of whom except the latter got their starts in 8 Deluxe,
エ
and
スパ
all
ニ
of
ョール
whom
だ。
are world class.
ちょっとグループ B にこれ USA 入ってくる感じちゃいますの。
And again, the depth, even outside of those top players you mentioned, newer players,
まあでもこれは
and
正
older players
直
alike.
負けて
I think
もいい試合ってことよね。
this team has such strong potential here.
勝った方がいいけど、
Yeah,
負けても
they can
まあ別
field a
に
lineup with like
他全部
their
勝てばい
entire
いだけ
roster,
みたいな。
and it will not dip in quality. Spitting now
Absolutely.
for our first
Japan,
team in
USA,
Group B.
Canada,
And I do
Italy.
want to point out there is one particular team here that always
強いね。
seems to get paired with
あー、来
Team
たユナイテッド・ステイ
Japan
ツ。
in these early stages, but not the team
来ましたね。
that I was
我
thinking of.
々
But this
の
is Team
対戦相
United
手。
States. They're going to be
United
drawn against
States.
Team Japan
う
into
ん。
our Group B. And
よろしくな、AJ。
USA, another team whose reputation precedes itself. This year, the captains AJ Green and Yoshira.
AJ グリーン、吉田。
And I mean every single player here, D1 caliber, been at the top of the game for most of them since the game's launch. A lot of
やっぱ
different
ね、
experiences,
ア
some
レ
coming
ズと
from
かうまいな
prior
って思う
Wii
ね。アレ
experience
ズ。
like Pepe and Saber,
昨日ピコ使ってる。
some coming from prior 8 experience like
セイバ
Yoshira,
ーことアレズ。
and all of that coming together. What's really unique about World Mario Kart
AJ も
World in
ね、この前
general
視点見せてもらっ
is
たんだけど、
the combination of
め
skill
ちゃくちゃうまかっ
sets
た。
that come from Wii
まあ、
and
どっちか
A
って
Deluxe
い
and
うと
combining together,
ね、
and that
周り
experience that
を
these players have from
よ
the
く
different
見
games
て
I
る
think
な
is super valuable.
っていう印象を受けたな。前をどんどん崩すかっていう
Also
より
worth
かは、味
noting,
方のサ
players
ポ
like
ートに
Unknown
徹す
having
る
one of the most
役回り
insane
だなっていう
arcs
印象を
since
受
the
けま
game's
した
launch.
ね。
Being at the top of the lounge leaderboard, at least in the out of the United States
MKWC、
players,
他の国は違うグループでいるんですよね。そう、31カ国あって、
players like
今、
AJ as well in a
24
similar boat, having a
か
really
な
strong
違う
improvement arc since the
23
game's
終わっ
launch.
て、今、残り
CP
の8がこれ。
formerly on BDD in 8 Deluxe and World as well, currently playing with Ronrons at the Division 1 level. I mean, there's just no wrong answer when it comes to what who can field, who can be placed into the lineup, excuse me. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing this team, and again, all those different experiences coming together. I think just such unique play styles from all the individual players as well.
ごめん、パソコンからじゃないからね、コメント欄確認する
Yeah,
の
they're one of
が
the teams
遅
on
れ
the
てしま
radar
って
to
ね。
potentially
申
make
し訳ない
fun.
な。
They have the talent to do it. So do these two teams, Canada and England. So we're going to see who is drawn into Group A
そう
against the
ね、
likes
1位抜
of
けし
France
ない
and
と。
Spain. It looks like it's going to be Canada by the slimmest of margins. So if there's another sleeper that
イ
has the
ングラン
potential
ド
to
も
make
イングラン
finals,
ドで嫌だけどね。
Canada's also in that
キ
discussion.
ャナダも嫌だよね。
Most of their players climbed up the
JTG と
ranks within the
か、
past few
あと
years,
誰だ
like Tyson and Bape,
タイソンと
who
か、
grinded to the top
今
of
名前上がった
D1
けど、
with Buzz, both hit
います
diamond,
から
by the
ね、
way,
強
last
いプレ
season
イ
in
ヤー
Lounge.
が。
Aaron, who put Bone Dry Dudes on his back, and is also in elite T tier. Thunder brought his prowess from the Wii side. Same thing as like Pepe and Saber. Yet the pillars of this team, Artie, John, and Tyler, are the same pillars that represented Canada in the Wii U days. This might be the best they've ever looked.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And as mentioned in the chat, for seemingly the first time ever, Canada has dodged Japan in the early stages of the tournament. They always seem to pair up against Japan, but again, this time going up against a different beast in France. And so just thought I would mention that.
リアムスカーあ
that's
た
a
り
historic
か
matchup that has
イング
happened
ランドは
consistently through the
リ
randomization,
アムス
but
カ
for seemingly the first time it hasn't happened for them. So
ー。あとは
really
ちょっ
looking
と
forward to see how
存
they
じ上
pair
げ
up
ないか
against
も。
France and Spain.
I'm so glad you guys pointed that out. Thank you. All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. And so that leaves us with England filling in the third slot in Group B. England captains this year Lee, Ryan, and Season. And again, another team that has a strong combination of players who have their experience from Wii and players with their experience from 8 Deluxe. On the Wii side, you have players like Ryan
JTG ってジャ
and
パンのメンバ
Season
ーが口にしていい
who
名前だったっけ何そんな名前出しちゃあかんみたいな
started
プレイヤ
way
ーお
back
る
in
ん
the day.
いいんじゃない
You know, 2017, 2018 on
なん
Wii
かやらか
had
し
a
たんあ
really
いつ
strong come up there, and then in the case of Season also
僕
playing at a
の
high
知ら
level
な
of
い
8
ところ
Deluxe,
で
and
なんかやら
so
かした
that is really something important to mention. Also OJ as well. And then on the 8 Deluxe side, you have players like Liam, who one of the most
Liam,
recognizable faces of Mario Kart in the Western scene, at least. James as well, having his start on 8 Deluxe. Gold having his start on 8 Deluxe, and even at that, particularly in the later stages of the game. Also worth noting players like Harry, route
太
going
鼓
by
のリーダー
Rousey
の
this
チームがっ
tournament.
くれた。
Sin as well, who
まあ
is
時間
probably
帯
one
合
of the
わ
most
ないから
improved
ね、しょうがない
players
とは思うけど。
on this squad in World in particular. Really strong improvement.
まあそもそ
arc
も
over the course
24
of the
人メ
game
イ
so
ンだ
far.
ったし、JPG はそ
So
こ
a
ま
lot
で
again, a
24
lot of
人
unique
興味なさ
experiences.
そう
This
だった
team is
し、
really
まあ抜けても仕方ないんじ
you
ゃ
know,
ねみ
from
たい
that
な
different
要素は
background,
揃っ
really
て
going
る
to
よね。
thrive on prior chemistry as well. A lot of these players have played together for years.
Yep.
And so really
So
looking forward to see how they go up against
あ、ロックスってイギリスだっけ？
USA versus England, a match that we have seen many times in prior games, including one we are going to see tomorrow. We'll mention that as well later on, but really cool matchup to see once again this year.
ロックス、
oh yeah,
懐
for
かし
sure.
い。
Also looking to see if England can redeem themselves from some prior performances that I think they want to overcome. Now, the last two teams that we're going to be drawing, one in Group A, one in Group B, Germany and Italy. We're going to give it a spin to see who falls into Group A.
ラスト。イタリー。
All right, barring any craziness, it's going to be Team Italy in that group with Canada, France, and Spain. We can't talk about Italy without talking about Dugo because he's
い
been
やー、
playing
正
at this level for
直、
10
あんま
plus
分かっ
years.
とらん。
He is the leader of the team and the leader of
あの、
Battle Alliance, who
12P メイ
recently
ンでや
won Division
る
3 of Atlas League.
人が多い
He's
か
the kind of
ら、
player who
イ
will
タ
do
リア、
everything he can to win races for his
ドイ
team,
ツ。
especially slowing down to grief the other team. And when you're protecting strong runners like Nico, Ferro, and Rapolo,
ま
that
あちょっ
strategy
と
will
ジャーマ
play.
ニー見てみるか、ジャー
And
マニ
not to mention, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about
ー。あ、リ
Domi
ザー
or
ド、オ
Domenico,
リ
as some of
オ
you
リ
may
と
remember.
か、リザードと
World-class
かは知って
TCer
るな。
on the Wii U,
マジそんぐらい
effectively
なんで
went
は
off
知
the
ってる
grid
の。
for several years,
もう一人なん
then
か
had the
ケビン
nerve
のっ
to
てやついる
resurface
けど。
and be in the discussion for
ほ
the best player
ん
in
ま
the
に
game.
誰ほんまに誰
Yeah, I think Italy in particular, this team has one of the most unique play
ゴール
styles
ドは、ちょっ
out
と
of
さす
any
がにわか
team,
らんな。
just thriving in that mid-pack play. And, you know, Dugo as well, being one of the
24P
most experienced players when it comes to that type of play. I
メイ
think
ンだ
this
から
team
さ、我々。
is going to be really
知ら
fun
ん
to
のよ
watch. One of the
な。
teams I'm most interested personally to watch this World Cup. And something else worth mentioning in Italy's case, Dugo mentioning to us in notes to the staff, the Italian community in general seeing the most activity it has had since way back in the Marker Wii days, the early Marker Wii days. Really worth noting just how motivated and driven this team is to succeed,
まあ、イタリア
not
だっ
only
た
in
ら、
World Cup, but
リ
in
ューゴとか、
their own endeavors and lounge and, you know, their teams like Battle
ロ
Alliance.
ポロは聞いたことあるな。ロ
And
ポロ。
last but not least, this leaves us with Team
あと、ドミ
Germany
ニコ
filling in that last slot in Group B. Germany this year
は聞いたことある。
captained by
フ
Michael
ェラン
Olli
チ
and
名やけど。
Saga.
でもマジそん
All
ぐらい
very
や。
strong players in their own right. Many of them playing
そ
with
もそもね、
Team Cook.
66で
Also
一
worth
緒
noting,
に対戦
7
するこ
of the
と自
players
体
on
が
this
ないか
roster
ら
all come
さ。
from one team, being NFO. So that
そういうドミ
chemistry
ニ
that's
コ、リュ
already
ーゴ
been。built up, playing together in that team is going to serve this team well. The elephant in the room, though, being JoJo. JoJo having
そんなこと入っ
such a
てねえ
strong
よ。
reputation
今、ゴール
as
じゃな
an
くて、ワールドカップ
insane
出てくるの
individual
やつ出
player,
ないよ。
rising the ranks in Lounge,
そんなこと言
showing
った
really
ら、
strong
さっきま
results
で
in
組み分け
wars.
やってた。
He is going to be the star player for this
何な
team
のじゃ
and going to lead this team to
なんか、オランダと
to
か、
victories, honestly. Really
ここら
looking
辺
forward
の。
to seeing him play. Other players, Cavino having a really strong timesheet, I believe peaked top 25 on the players page. Lazard, a long-time player. I remember playing against him back in 2018. So a
いや、このケビンのっ
large
てや
amount
つ
of
マジで
experience
知らんのやけ
drawing
ど。
from 8 Deluxe. Statical, I believe a newer player to the scene, but having a really strong come up, I believe peaking Ruby in Lounge Season 2, currently playing with Resilience. And then Julian, who is currently the leader of Unbelievably Bailed and just having that experience being that IGL figure in the lineup, giving really strong communication and having a really good thinking ahead mindset. I think that's really going to prove valuable for this team as well.
Yeah, great points. And just like with Domenico, I think JoJo's in that discussion for like best player in the entire world.
I would agree. Yeah,
That
absolutely.
that group is shaped up to
うん。
be really special. Same with Group A as well. All right.
いや、もう
So
ジョジョは、あれだよ。マリオカートしてるよ
from
So
り、
as
友
we
達とテニ
are
スしてた方が楽しいっ
preparing
て
the
言ってたよ。
final graphic we're going to show you with everything completed, some matches worth talking about here. Actually, I believe it's ready now if we want to go ahead and over to it. So here we go. This is our culmination of everything that, summarization of everything we've just drawn here. All of the play-in groups,
こ
the
んなに
first
国数あ
initial
っ
group
て
stage
性別
matches,
関
and
係
our
ないの
top
に
eight
女子プレイ
draw.
ヤーが一人もいないの。男臭すぎ。
And
あなた
some
違います
potential
よ。
matches to talk about here. I mean, starting with that play-in,
オーストラリアに
with
はオ
those
ペティッ
play-in
クがいる
groups,
し、アメ
that
リカに
first
は
group
ジュ
being
リーと
all,
ミリメグがいる。
Central South American teams, that's going to be a
こい
real
つら
treat to
3人
watch.
は女です。
yeah, we're gonna see Santi play against Splendy, who are
で
already
っても
teammates
マ
on
イクラの方
RK,
が楽しいに言うてるし
and
変
you're
わ
gonna
らん。
pair that
テニス
with
とマイクラ
Ouya
違
from
うだろ。
Colombia, Edgar and Mariah from
家にいる
Dominican
のと
Republic.
外にいる
That's
の
gonna
と
be
で
a
だいぶ
fire
変わ
group.
るんじゃない？
Same with all of them, but especially Group B that has all regional teams, and it's gonna be a clash of like carries, really. Like all those teams have 3 or 4 dudes who can
まあ
really
で
just
も、こう見
make
る
or break a match.
と、なかな
Yeah,
か面
absolutely.
白い組み分けではあ
Also,
るよね。
particularly Netherlands versus Puerto Rico. That is going to be a really interesting match to watch. A team
そう、自分も
of a
ね、グル
lot
ープ Y
of,
っていう
prior
ネ
established
ザーランド
experienced
がいると
players
ころ
versus a team of
が
a
ちょっ
lot
と
of
気
new
にな
up
っ
and
てるね。
comers. That's going to be a really interesting
ちょ
storyline
っと
to
面
look
白
at.
そ
In the group stage, as we already mentioned, that Ireland versus Calendombria match, that is going to be
う。うん。まあ
probably the
我々が
highlight
出
of
る
the
の
entire group
は
stage, in my
17から
opinion. That's going to be
19
not only a
なのか。
a match that has
17から 19か
prior
ら4月
rivalry, but a
24
team
から
that a match
25。
that has really
8
just
月1日
close.
2日。
I think
自
it's going to
分
be has
8
the
月
potential
1
to be
日
close
2日、お
in
そらく
result.
出れる。おそらく
So
ね。
really
お
looking
そらく
forward to
出れ
seeing
る
that
ん
one
だ
as
けど、
well.
24、
Really, really
25は
happy
わから
that
ん
that
ね。
match is gonna
17から
happen.
19もわからん
Same with
ね。ワン
Belgium
チャ
and
ン鳥
Australia,
取に、
because they're two teams that are looking for a little more
大
success than
学
they've
関連
had
で
in
行か
recent
なきゃい
years.
けんから、
They've
その期
also
間
played each
は
other
マリ
in
カ
the
できん
last
から、
tournament
出
of
れ
this
ないか
kind,
もしれん。
and I think Belgium got the best of Australia there, but they're both looking for a berth in not just the top 16, but the top 8. And
ちょ
right
っと
next to
今回
that,
日本
Mexico
語
and
で
South
きないか
Korea
も
is
な。
a match that already happened in the World Cup.
お前
Will
な。
Mexico get the best of South Korea here?
お前
Yeah, and
な。
I do personally want to point out that any match with Team Australia is going to be fun to watch
いや、
as
僕もオプ
a
ティッ
team
クと
that we don't
か、
often get to see
と
play
66やりた
again
い
because
よ。
of that time zone disadvantage. Same with
ボージ
Korea
ャー
as
と、
well. So
ボージ
really
ャー
looking
と
forward
オプティッ
to
クが
seeing them.
66
And
やってるとこ
again,
ろを
with
見たい
Australia,
わ。
as unique of a matchup as Belgium, that's just a matchup you would never see anywhere else,
現
even with
最
even
強プレ
within
イヤー。
like Atlas League, for
オース
example.
トラリアの現
And
環
now
境。
looking at this top
マ
eight,
ジ
I
で
think the
全
the
プレイヤー
elephant in
の
the
中
room is
で
that Japan
最
versus USA
もラン
match.
クが
That is
高い
going
と
to
されて
be
るボージャー
potentially
とタイムアタッ
the
クが
second versus
今
third seed of
一
the
番
entire
熱い女性
tournament.
プレイヤー、オプティックが共存してるオース
Going to
ト
be
ラ
a
リア。
great first test
オ
for
ーストラ
USA
リア
in the
強すぎ
early
ない
stage
か、
of
そ
this
う考え
tournament.
ると。
Do they have the potential to crack into
オプ
that
ティックの声
top
聞き
two
て、
and
ツイ
reach
ッチ行け
finals?
ば聞ける
Will
よ。
be a great test for them in particular.
The same can be said for Canada and Spain, which
い
might
や
be
ーね、
two
な
of
ん
the
と
like
かしたい
top
ね。ちょっと
5 teams
ね、
who have the
日本
potential
も
to appear in the
66に
finals
おい
and
て
or
は
win
課
it
題
all.
が
They can see what they
山
can
積
do
みや
against
と思うか
France.
ら、ちょっとね、この前
Every
それも
match
話
in
し合
the
ったん
top
や
8 is
け
going to
ど、
be stellar.
残り2週間、3週間でどうやっ
Yeah,
て
absolutely.
対応しよう
And with
かみ
that,
たい
that
な。
is going to pretty
やっ
much
ぱ
wrap
相
up
手に
our
よって
group
立
stage
ち
draw
回り
for
を変える
today.
必要が出てくるのか
But
もし
really
れな
quick
いね。
before we end off here, do want to go over the schedule just a little bit. So we had our group draw today. It is June 27th, and we are going to have a bye weekend. So next weekend we will not start just yet. You'll have to wait one more week, and our play-in stage is going to start on July 10th. That's going to be your groups on the left-hand side. The following weekend is going to be our group stage and our top 8 round robin. So those will be happening at the same time. So a lot of content and matches coming for you that weekend in particular between both of those groups. And then the following weekend will begin the playoffs. Again, playoffs being top 16 this year, starting on July 24th. And finals August 2nd. So make sure that is on your calendar and on your radar for the tournament this year.
Yeah. As you were saying, that does wrap it up for the group draw for this tournament. And we'll be releasing schedules in the following days once they're all completed for every group. But as far as the stream is concerned, that does wrap it up for us. However, please stay tuned tomorrow as the Mkwc side is going to have their finals between England and US North. So, in that match, is England going to be able
ヒート
to
デラッ
retain
クス
their
の最
crown,
後の W、はい、
or
対
will US
禁
North
衛勢で
reclaim
集
their
めた
spot at
オ
the
ラン
top?
ダ勢に負けそうになった。そんなことがあ
Yeah,
った
and
の
also
か。
worth noting that match is a best of 5, and I believe this is the first best of 5 finals a Wii tournament has had in a few years. So that is
You're
going to
right
be a
about that,
huge
yeah.
test. Yeah, a huge test for both teams. That's going to be a really exciting matchup. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So make sure you are watching out for that. Really looking forward to it. And yeah, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much to Nick for casting with me. Thank you to T behind the scenes. I know the wheels in particular are giving us some trouble today. Those darn wheels, but we really appreciate all the work you've done on the production side of things. So thank you for that. And thank you all so much for watching and being here. It's really cool. I believe we peaked at over 200 viewers. That was awesome to see. So thank you all so much. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks for the play-in stage.
Yep, really looking forward to it. Thanks for sticking it with us. Take care, everybody.
Ah, 以上って感じか。YouTube チャンネルあるんだ、ブリック。ということでね。まあ、グループトーナメント頑張りますか、一旦。1位通過して、最後 FR と当たるっていうのが、まあ、割と理想というか、そんな感じはするよね。ね、そうね。思った以上にしっかりした抽選会やったね。頑張りますか。ということで、僕は寝ます。今から寝ます。よし。じゃあね。また明日お会いしましょう。来てくださってありがとうございました。こんな時間に。はい、色べすみなさい。はい、おやすみ。バイバーイ。